There are a lot of terms in the Constitution of the United States of America that a lot of people just don't understand. They interpret it wrong, and that's why our government has been able to get away with the perverted mindset that they have all this time. You know, it's kind of like you buy a place and you've lived there for, say, 30 or 40 years, and there's been this building, you know, pretty close to your house, but, you know, you just take it as gospel that, you know, it's legal for the guy to have it there. And then, for some reason, you have a surveyor come out and he surveys the place, and you find out you've been paying taxes for, 50 years on land you haven't been able to use because some guy was encroaching upon your land. That's what happens when you look at the Constitution nowadays. You find out they've been doing what they wanted while we pay the taxes on it. So let's get this thing back to where it's supposed to be. Our Constitution is so simple that Alexander Hamilton expected us to be enlightened enough to distinguish between a legal exercise and an illegal usurp of authority. And he said that the people are the natural guardians of the Constitution. Read the Federalist number 16. But our problem here is the justices on the Supreme Court have been perverting our Constitution for so long, and they didn't do it because they're stupid. They violated our Constitution because they claimed the right to impose their own personal views on the rest of us. And remember something else. The Supreme Court, their decisions are only opinions. They are not law. They are not law. For them to say, the Constitution says that Congress has the right to limit commerce. So it must mean interstate commerce too. So the court says, oh yeah, that's good. So these idiots in Congress, they got more power given to them by the Supreme Court, that the Supreme Court cannot pass any extra power to Congress. Do you understand that? So, progressively, the Supreme Court has found a way to get around limitations imposed by the enumerated powers. And they did it by perverting 3 clauses: the Interstate Commerce Clause, General Welfare Clause, and the Necessary and Proper Clause. I'm going to zoom that in maybe just a little more, people. The Interstate Commerce Clause, General Welfare, and Necessary and Proper Clauses. Now, if our people in Supreme Court would go by the original intent of the Constitution, that means the Declaration of Independence, that means the Federalist Papers that were wrote at the time, that's where the original intent of the Constitution is, not what these people are trying to shove down your throats. The Commerce Clause, this is in Federalist number 22 and number 42 of the Federalist Papers. Hamilton and Madison both explained the primary purpose of the clause. It was to prohibit the states from imposing taxes and tariffs on merchandise as it was transported through the states for the purpose of buying and selling. That's all it meant. It doesn't mean interstate. There's no interstate in your Constitution. General Welfare Clause employs general terms that are immediately followed by the enumeration of particular powers and explains and qualifies what it means. The powers of the Congress over the country at large are very limited, and they are primarily listed to only a few of them. There's like, I think, 15 or 16 that they are allowed. The framers of the Constitution said general welfare is the enjoyment of peace and prosperity, and the enjoyment of ordinary blessings of society and civil government. And that's only possible if the federal government is strictly limited in that power. Period. The necessary and proper clause. Remember, they try to use this a lot. Oh, well, yeah, we under this we can pass firearm laws. If you look in the Constitution, any place in that Constitution, you tell me where it says Congress has the power to regulate or promote firearm laws against the people of the United States. It's not in there. Necessary and proper clause delegates to Congress power to pass all laws that are necessary and proper to execute its declared powers. Declared powers is the enumerated powers. They give them the power to pass all laws necessary and proper for the execution of that power only within the guidelines of the enumerated powers. They cannot pass firearm laws. It's against the Constitution. Yeah, learn what the enumerated powers are delegated to Congress and to the President. Then we can nullify and vote out all these unconstitutional acts. Okay, let's get down here a minute. I think it's important enough. Federalist number 22 and 42, it prohibits the state from imposing tolls and tariffs on articles and export, goods and commodities and merchandise as they are transported through the states for the purpose of buying and selling. That's what the Commerce Clause is. It has nothing to do with interstate clause. There's nothing in there. Necessary and proper clause. Okay? It's a power to do something, and they have to have the power to execute the laws that are in their enumerated powers. Okay, that's all it says. It merely permits execution of powers already delegated and enumerated in the federal Constitution. There's no other substantial powers granted by that clause. They cannot pass firearm laws. They cannot limit your ammo. Get that through your heads. Anyway, people, I want you to know this because you keep running into, oh, well, under the Commerce Clause, we can do it. Under the Necessary and Proper Clause, we can do it. Under the General Welfare Clause, we can do it. It's all garbage. They are talking through their yin-yang. Do not believe these people. What does it say? The Supreme Court has been perverting our Constitution for so long, and they do it because they claim the right to impose their own personal views on the rest of us. It's like I said about the survey. You know, you can live someplace and not know that something belongs to you, and because you didn't know. You just didn't know. That's why you have to pick up the Constitution, look at it, and go, wait a minute, horsey. Whoa, you're going the wrong way. We need to go the other way. Thanks for watching, but I wanted you people to know what these clauses meant. It's very important that you do understand this. This interstate commerce, there's no such thing as interstate commerce. It's like these so-called hate laws that Bill Clinton came up with. Of course, communists always come up with these little bywords to pull you in. Commerce was only put in there to prohibit the states from imposing taxes and tolls on merchandise as it was transported through the states, because every state was adding taxes and tariffs to it, and by the time it got to California, it cost them $1 million for a little $1 piece of equipment. The General Welfare Clause doesn't. It's a peace and prosperity, and necessary and proper only with the enumerated powers they have. They cannot grant themselves more powers than they already have. They are limited. That's why we put that in there, so that they would be limited and not become tyrants, as they are now. Just like the people in Virginia and all these other states are trying to force all this stuff down your throats. They don't have the authority. It's outside the scope of authority granted to everybody. And they have to follow the Constitution because that's the law of the land, the supreme law of the land. Thanks for watching.